Hello all, good morning, good evening or good afternoon. So today we'll talk about the new introduction in Business Central, which is getting a lot of buzz. There are both sides of the coin and we'll talk about both of the things as in whatever I've read about it, the buzz on the internet, the tweets around it and everything. So the new addition to Business Central family is Ternary operator. Now what this is a known operator in other programming languages, and it helps to streamline your conditional operational in code, right? The whole idea is to enhance readability, that it's easier to read, and it's as in even the Microsoft documentation says that it's particularly useful for simple condition prompting code, clarity and intent focus for the programming. By allowing variable initialization within the same line, it ensures proper assignment, minimizing the code length. And with this particular release that's coming out, AL now supports this new operator. Now what this is, at the end of the day, it's a question mark and a colon, right? And we'll see some examples of it to understand what it is and why it is getting the buzz. We'll also talk about the articles which are written of kind of not supporting this. So, and I'll leave it to you. I'm a huge fan of testing out whatever comes up new into the product, but then I leave it to the fellow developers and I'll surely have my opinion at the end. Okay, so let's open up VS Code and let's try to understand what it is. Okay, so for this we'll have to find an example where there is an if-else statement, or let's write an if-else statement just to keep it very simple. Let's write a very simple statement, and I'll take a very simple example. So if I have a procedure and that procedure is test, let's say test example, and in that I have a boolean, just to keep it simple, my boolean value of type boolean, and then I have a, let's say a text or a integer, let's say age, okay, which is an integer. Now the function is to check is somebody greater than 18 or some condition, right? So typically what we will do is we will write that if let's say age is greater than 18, then return true. Is it true? Or let's keep it simple because I don't want it to make it complex for it. So let's make it as age as text and not age. Let's say my var. Okay. Now what I'll write is my boolean val. If it is true, then as of today I'll write my var becomes ABC. Okay. Okay, and else my var becomes XYZ. That's how we write it as of today. It's simple if else condition, right? Now you can actually replace it with a single line of statement with the new operator that's available. Okay, how you will write it? You'll say, okay, I'm going to do assignment on my var, so let's do an assignment on my var, and then the assignment of it is happening based on the condition of my boolean. So I'll say my boolean, and then there will be a question mark. Now anything that follows after question mark is when the condition is true, which is ABC. So if this is true, then return ABC, and then the else condition is signifies with this, so you say XYZ, and this becomes your whole assignment of it. And why there is this, I didn't close this, sorry for that, but this is the old style that we write the code, and this is the new style that you can write the code starting this release, right? So let me zoom this in so that it's readable. So what I'm saying is, instead of writing a 4-line if else, you can just replace it with a single line, right? Now there can be scenarios, and let's pick one of the scenario that I like, where there is a lot of conditions available. I'm not suggesting that you use it like this, but let's go into the customer ledger or vendor ledger entry page, right? There is a style expression that we know, where the colors change of the column based on the value that is associated with it, and that comes from this function rect.setStyle. Now this is where the condition is, right? This is where it returns a text. So what I can do is I'll just copy this and I'll paste it here, and I'll call it a new procedure. Okay, let's say test2, and I'll place it here. I'll temporarily create some variable here because I cannot modify Microsoft code for sure, right? So wherever it's giving me an error, I'll just define that as a variable for the time being. Okay, and then I can also do the close at date. Okay, close at date. Okay, and this is returning a text, so I'll say it returns a text. Okay, hopefully that fixes everything. Now this is a little bit complex scenario where you have a if, and then inside that if you again have a if, and then the first if is closing, and then there is an else, and then there is if and all. Now how you kind of actually replace it, it's pretty interesting. So you have to exit something, so you write your exit statement. Your first condition is it is open, so you write the open. Now anything that we have to do is true and false. What is my false? This is my false, which means this document is not open. But my true is if work date is greater than due date. So what I can actually do is I can copy this and place it here. Okay, but if this is true, because then there is another if, right? So I can actually append this, which is the true statement, and again the false statement. What happens if it is true? Then it returns the unfavorable. Okay, so I can actually pass this as unfavorable, and if it is false, then I surely want to exit blank. Okay, that solves my first if. This is solved. Now I'm coming to the else part, which is this else, right? So this else statement starts here, and my else statement says if. So I can actually append this here, and then because there is a statement, I have to do a success case and a failure case. So here I'm returning the attention if this passes. Okay, and otherwise I am again returning the blank. Okay, so this bakes in my whole if else condition that I have written here by just a combination of the new operator with question mark and the colon. So this opens my first condition, and then inside my first condition there is an additional condition which also have true and false, and then the else part of this condition actually starts here, and then there is again an else if. So you can go actually a pretty long route to it. You can use it on case statement, you can use it with if else, but as remember what Microsoft documentation said, you should only use it for simple expression, and there are two reasons behind it. It should be readable. Okay, now if it takes time for me to as a fellow developer who is looking at this code which you have written, if it is not, if I'm wasting a lot of time to understand what you're writing, then it is not of that of use, right? Then rather than write the if else condition. I haven't read or I haven't discovered the performance part of it yet, but if you're interested, we can surely look at it. But now let's come to the other part of the equation, which is, yes, you can do this, but where are the scenarios where you should not be doing it? So there is an article written about it, which is tagged as the dark side of the operator. So let's see. I'll put the link into the comment, so don't worry about it. The article talks about the light side, which we have seen a little bit of if else conditions and all, right? If you have to write this, then you can surely replace it with this, right? If you have to write something like this, where age is greater than 18, exit this, you can surely use it like this. But then if you follow up on this article going forward, it talks about the dark side. And then it is where it gets a little bit messier when you start using it with, as in the performance or the output will be same, but should you write this to say date name and then add different conditions to it, or should you write this? Because it's also about the readability of the code, right? So if you have to do something like this on a very complex condition, one of them which I showed you, right? Or you should be writing it like this. So the idea is, as in the way I understood it, is if you have very simple scenarios, then use the new operator which is available. And the other reason why I think you should kind of become habitual to it, because eventually you will see the presence of this code in Microsoft Object. So we surely will have to start learning how this is being used so that it's human readable for us when we see it on Microsoft code or any other fellow developers code. As a company, as I said, I'll give my opinion. As a company, you can either choose to work with it or not, and you can't have mixed mode, because then when you look at each other's code for review purpose or for for solving a bug that came up with the code that has been submitted to your customer, everybody should be on the same page. Everybody should understand what the coding style is, right? There are both sides of the coin. There are complex situations where it can be completely confusing to understand what the developer was intended to do, because there is no indentation, nothing. It's just plain simple text in one line. It surely can improve readability if there are simple statements which are replacing with single line of code. So do read both the sides of the coin. I'll have the link of that article into the comments or on the first pinned video, first pinned comment of this video, and also on the description. Do read it, decide what works for you as a company. This is nothing new. It's just announced for Business Central now, but in other programming language it was there and for a very long time. So there is no hard and fast. If else is not going away, it'll remain as it is. So just to be very clear, there's a new style of it. If you like it, use it. At least understand about it, how it works. And if you have other complex examples or other scenarios which I haven't covered, which you think should have been covered in this video, do let me know into the comments. Do let me also know in the comments, are you going to use it, or you are still sticking with the if and else? As I said, there are no right or wrong options on this case, right? And you know the drill at this point. If you like the content, hit the like button. If you think this is something that should be known to the other fellow developers, then do share it on your social media accounts. And if you haven't, then please do subscribe to the channel. It helps us to understand how we are doing. Should we continue doing this or find out a better way? I'll see you sooner than later into the next video. Till then, keep learning and keep sharing whatever you're learning. Thank you. Have a nice day.